Well, I actually took the day off today. Got my daughter her license, and after we got her license, I just decided I was going to ride for the rest of the day. It was a pretty day. It's the first real decent day. It was in the 50s today, so I rode this thing, and it's the first time I was actually able to ride it with all the things that I've done and actually ride the bike. And I'm telling you, man, I love this thing. I hate to admit it, but I like it better than my transalp. It's just an awesome bike. It's just so much fun to ride. Just a great little bike. So, is this thing? Yeah, it's still recording. I think I put these on upside down. I think this is supposed to go that way. I think this is actually the top, and that's the bottom. And when I put these on, that's the way I put them on. And I think that's actually the right way for those to go on. So, oops. And, you know, I've got all these holes that I didn't have full on this thing. There's pins that are supposed to go in somewhere in here. Yeah, right there as well. And I knew I bought one of these kits, and I couldn't find it. I've looked and looked and looked, and it was hanging right up there on the wall. So, it's funny. But either way, I am still trying to decide between the V-Strom and the transalp for absolutely keeping this one, no question. Love the bike. For what I've got in it, basically less than $3,000 and some TLC. Yeah, that's absolutely upside down. Oops. But anyway, for what I've got in it, it's a great bike. You know, it's not perfect. This was busted up pretty bad, and I could never figure out how to get that to stay, but it's good enough. And honestly, I'm not a big, I'm more function over form, so I really don't care. It's got some scratches on it, but shoot, it gives the thing character. This panel always does this. If you hit it, it pops back in place, but it'll eventually pop back off. But as far as riding the bike, man, the V-Strom is it's a fantastic bike. And one of the things I wanted to talk about is where this fits in. So, you know, for the longest time I said, if you're going to have one motorcycle, this is the one to have. It is a great bike. Don't get me wrong. It's fantastic. It's such a good bike. For what you've got in this, you can just do so much with it. Now, the downsides for me with this bike are two main things. It has tubed tires. And my understanding is the rear, you can actually convert to a tubeless. They make conversion kits and stuff like that. And if it were to come off or whatever, if you get a low tire, the bead actually holds it on pretty well. But the front tire, even with those conversion kits, it's not a good idea. It doesn't hold onto the rim. So a tubeless like this one, the bead is going to stay on there better. If it starts to get low, generally your tubeless rims, the tire is at least going to stay in place. Where that one, and I experienced it firsthand, thankfully at a low speed, the tire came off the rim when the tube lost some of its pressure, and it just about wrecked me. Again, it was just the grace of God that I didn't seriously get hurt there. But this has been a good motorcycle overall. But when that happened, I started looking at it, and it was like, man, I need to convert this to tubeless. The kind of riding that I do, I'm not going off-road. I'm going on pavement 90% of the time. And admittedly, this bike is not really a pavement-only bike. It's meant, that's why you have the ground clearance that you've got. That's why it's set up like a dirt bike. It's basically like a big dirt bike. So, the best fit for this bike would actually be knobbier tires. And it's an adventure bike, right? So that's kind of the point. And then you go to this one, and this one to me is a more road-oriented bike. So if you look at the ground clearance over here, you got a pretty good bit of ground clearance. Over here, you've got less. I don't know exactly how much, but it's less. It's noticeably less. They did at least give you some kind of a guard on this bike, where this one's just wide open. So, there's your oil filter, there's your pipes. You're going to hit stuff if you take this thing off-road. So you have to, if you're taking it off-road, you're going to want to put a, what do you call them, bash plate, or I forget what they're called, right here. You're going to want to go to knobbier tires. You're going to probably do something different with the suspension. Where this one is, to me, it's 90% road, gravel roads, maybe some fire roads. And, it's got really road biased tires on it now. And if I'm riding on the road, man, this is the one I'm riding. And I've gone over this before, but that toolbox is half full of tools that if I get a flat, I can take the wheel off and fix it. This one, all the tools I need for, anything other than a major issue are under the seat right here in this little part under the seat. I've got tire plugs. I've got things like that. I've got a, I forget what you call them, little air compressor thing, jump starter. Everything you need for this thing fits right there. And I've got another case like this, but a 45 liter coming for this hopefully tomorrow. Also, the wheels on this are smaller than that one, your front wheel in particular. And what I've noticed is this one, if you have an obstacle in the road and you're going this way, this one reacts really, really quickly. I mean, if I need to make a right to avoid an obstacle, this one just, kind of goes around it really well. And I think that's because you have less, what do you call it, a gyroscopic inertia, whatever you want to call it, where this is a smaller wheel than that one. And it just seems to be able to avoid things better. Now, the funny thing is, and granted, I've got 10,000 miles on this one and about 800 on this one so far. On this one, I can make tighter U-turns and things like that. I don't know exactly why, but, just between the two of them, I still like this one better. And I keep going back to, do I want to keep this bike or sell it? And I'm more and more inclined to sell it. And here's why. So again, go back to what this thing is for. This is a more, off-road, on-road adventure bike. It's not a dirt bike. It's heavy. But what would, to me, where this would fit really well in my setup is I could keep that one for road. The seat is far, far more comfortable. This seat, you can sit on it forever, and it's just not that bad. This one, I've had to add this little pad, and man, it makes it so much more tolerable, but even with this on it, it doesn't hold a light to that seat. When I looked at the wheels that I could order for this one, by the time I got them ordered, they were overseas. You pay taxes, you pay all that. It was over $2,000. I paid $2,500 for this motorcycle with tubeless tires. So, it was like, man, I could upgrade my one motorcycle, or I could buy a whole nother motorcycle for a little bit more money. And now I have two. And to me, that just makes more sense. So I did that. But while this would be a fantastic off-road bike, or a bike that I can, ride to rougher places, ride into harder places, things like that, I've dropped this bike twice in sand. Yeah, twice. And it's because of the stupid traction control. This is a 2024 model. I think they fixed it in the 2025 models. And to me, they should come out with a firmware update or something for this bike that takes the traction control and allows you to permanently remember your setting. This is, to me, a huge loss for Honda. If I had it to do over again, if I were going to spend the same amount of money, I would buy the 800DE, I think, the Suzuki V-Strom 800, which is essentially the same basic bike as the Honda. The things that I saw when I looked at reviews are, they said that the exhaust on the Honda is a little bit louder and they like the way it sounds better. Personally, this is your factory exhaust on this one, and I love the quiet ride that I get on this bike. Now, I'm not your typical rider. Again, I'm function over form. I don't hear this bike. I mean, you hear it, but it's not just, super, super duper loud. And neither is this one, but that one's actually a little bit quieter. So a loud exhaust or a better note or whatever, I really don't care. And the Suzuki V-Strom version of this, to me, when I was watching reviews, they were riding it from pavement onto, not pavement several times. And the guy would just flip traction control off on the fly as he was driving. If it stayed on when you cranked it and it remembered that setting and you just had a click and you're out of traction control, hey, great. But this bike, you have to hold this button down, go into a menu, go into another menu, go over, go down to turn that off, save, hold, and save. I think that's the sequence. But man, that's annoying. And you have to be stopped to do it. You're not doing that as you're riding down the road. This bike doesn't even have traction control. And, to me, why do you need it? Maybe there's a use case for it. To me, it's more of a lawyer bullcrap thing. My brain tends to know better than the traction control about what I need to do. When I'm on this bike and traction control is on, it's dumped me in the sand twice. When I take traction control off, I rode right through those same places without any trouble. So the biggest benefit of this bike is neutered by the biggest stupid thing they added to this bike. This is an off-road machine. It's made to do off and on road. It's made to be, high ground clearance, all that stuff. And you neutered it with traction control and just made it stupid. And it's not like that was their only option. It wasn't like it was a thing that was the only way they could do it, because every other manufacturer that I've seen of this vintage or whatever, when these things came out, had a better solution for it. They had a way that you could just flip it right off. You could cycle in between modes and you're going. If I could trade this for a V-Strom 800 right now, I'd do it in a heartbeat. But that's what I've got. So I am seriously considering selling the transalp and funding one more V-Strom 650, so I'd have a pair and they'd be the same thing. And just going with that. And maybe this is actually my buddy's bike. It used to be my bike. It's dirty. It needs to be cleaned up a lot. After I had the Hawk 250, I bought this one from a friend of mine and then loaned it back out to him. And he was supposed to pay me for it, and he never did. So this came back to me after he wore the tires just about off of it. And I sold it to another friend of mine who doesn't like those bikes because of the height. He don't like the seat height. So hopefully he'll ride this, and it'll be his bike that we can ride together, and I'll have that one as my loaner was the idea. But the sad part is if I'm on that bike and my friend's riding this one, I'm going to wish I was on this one. But I do think that somebody has dropped the gearing in this bike. I did get it up to 100 today. Just wanted to see what it would do. Had a long stretch of road, and I just opened it up, and I mean, it did great. But the speedometer is about 5 miles an hour off. So it said 105. Still had more in it. Still could have kept going, I think. So, probably will change this at some point. But I'm going to figure out which sprocket has been changed, and I'm probably going to eventually put this back to factory gearing just to see what it does. But if anybody has any input, to me, this transalp, if I could sell it for $7,000, I don't know if that's a decent price or not, but if I could sell that for $7,000 and buy one more of these for under $5,000, and then take the rest of the money and buy gear, is kind of what I'm thinking. So if I get, $5,000 for one of these in this vintage, the second generation V-Strom without all the bull crap on it, then I could buy, I've been looking at the KLIM gear, KLIM, I forget what the thing is, but it's like $1,400 for the jacket and the pants. And I've talked to a few people that just absolutely swear by them, so I'll say they'll last you forever. So that might be something that I eventually do. And that's kind of what I'm looking at, is I could just have two of these. When my friend wants to ride with me, we're both on the same bike. We're both enjoying it and having a good time. In all reality, this one would fit him better. He's taller than I am, and he would probably absolutely love that machine, but he can't afford to buy it. So, and he actually, a lot of times he rides without I don't think he even has a permit. He's been riding for years without a permit. Somehow gets away with it. I don't know how, but this one, honestly, if I'm riding a bike, I'm riding this one. Now, the weird thing to me about this bike is, man, the thing leans over hard. If you look at it, look at how hard of a lean that is. You see the difference between the two? I'm thinking about getting a little pad thing to put down there. And I'm also thinking about getting a lowering kit to drop these things, the foot pegs, down an inch. And honestly, I think that would be just about anything I'd want to do to this thing. Other than that, it's been a great bike. I rode it for hours today, and it's fantastic. I mean, it's just a good bike. But to me, this style, as soon as I sat on it, I didn't like it. But the adventure bikes, to me, they're just awesome. But yeah, if anybody's interested in that one for $7,000, it's been a fantastic bike. I just don't like the traction control. I would rather use my stinking brain to do what I want to do instead of that thing trying to tell me how to wreck, basically. But yeah, that's where I'm at. So anybody has any input, let me know. The good thing is my daughter has her license now, so I get to drive to work, on my bike from now on. So that's fantastic. But yeah, help me decide. I'm still on the fence. I do want to take this one on a longer road trip. I want to drive it to my dad's in the mountains, or drive it to my uncle's at the beach, or something like that. So I've got, a couple hour, 2 or 3 hour at least drive on this bike on a long stretch just to see how she does. I think it'll do great, but we'll see. I don't know. But either way, you guys have a great day.